Hello, it's Kevin Thompson of Not I Capital. Thank you guys for joining us. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. As I always say, go and get my book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@noticapitalgroup.com. Send us your questions, or you can go to the website at www.noticapitalgroup.com. Schedule an appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, and engage. And today, the fro is out. It's engaging, and I'm about to have an engaging conversation with Dr. Preston Cherry. We're going to be talking about the future of financial planning, independence, the industry trends, and social media impacts. You got to stay tuned for this, because not only will this be engaging, it will also be entertaining. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Preston Cherry, DPC, I like to call him. Man, thank you for joining the podcast, my friend. I want to say this before we get started. Have you gotten any sleep? Have you gotten any sleep? And congratulations.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. And I see you got the fro out, man. Yeah, when I'm watching you, man, it's either the fro or the bears. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, Kevin about to get on it today. But yeah, thank you for asking, man. The kid, baby Lath is doing well. So is the wife. Awesome, man. I'm getting a little sleep, but hey, it's all worth it.
Man, congratulations. I mean, life-changing event. And the baby, your child couldn't have a better father, man. I'll tell you that right now. You couldn't have a better father, man.
Man, I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, man. Hey, you've been doing some big things, and I know you and I have seen a lot in this financial planning space lately. And the first thing I want to talk about, and I know you've seen it, social media in the financial planning space, and how we have to have these conversations with our clients, making sure they're not necessarily getting bogged down with all this noise. Like recently, I had a client call me, and they were saying, Kevin, this CPA sent me this guy on Twitter, not, Twitter's already bad, right? He says, hey, if you put $50 a week into an LLC bank account, and do it when your child is a freshman in high school, when they get to become a senior, they're gonna have $512,000 in this LLC for them to do what they want to do. I was like, he says, man, I thought about doing that. I said, first of all, where in the hell you get this stuff, man? Like, where's this stuff coming from? And that's where we come in, because we have to protect our clients against that. So what say you about this new social media world? We're fiduciaries, we're CFPs, we're having to combat that a lot. But where do you think, is there going to be like a medium where we can kind of like combat that, and we can say, you know what, that's not true, and without having to go through these fights on all these social media platforms?
Right. Well, we're doing it, Kevin.
Yeah.
This is it right here.
Yeah.
It's most of these folks are whatever generation that you're in, and are getting their information from a social media.
Yeah.
And hey, listen, don't discount those boomers now, because my folks are 66 and 64, I believe it is. And listen, they on social. Maybe it's on Facebook. My pop's got a TikTok, right?
Hey.
So what I'm saying is like all the generations are on social, trying to search for information, trying to check and verify.
Yeah.
All of this, right? But how do you, like you said, there's so much noise. There's also people getting information from each other. So even before social media, if folks were getting their information from their family members, the people at the country club, or at the basketball court, whatever it may be, right? So we've always had noise. So to answer your question is like, do this, and I would say this, and not combating others, because I don't want to bring in those dumbass social media things where people are looking at each other, they're like, oh yeah, and they're shaking their head and they're like this, and I'm like, no, don't combat what they're doing and uplift their information. Instill confidence with good information, like what we're doing now on our podcasts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's very difficult, because you're absolutely right. A lot of these social media individuals like to grab engagement, right? They'll just say something and they'll be like, boom, because there's an algorithm out there that's going to tell them, if you just say these things, it can be the most nonsensical stuff in the world. We can boost your algorithm. We can boost your ratings. We can boost your content. And that's the downside with social media right now, because you can the crazier you say something, the more attention you get. And I just don't know where we go with that. And the other side of the fence is now you have people that are all in agreement with, yeah, we're going to agree with this person. We're going to jump into the fray with these arguments and stuff like that. In our industry today, what do you think about, and this, and I know I battle against this a lot, and I know you hear me talk about it, where we're headed in regards to our grouping and our thinking and the large conglomerate, because a lot of us think alike, but then if one individual thinks a little bit differently, we try to shun them or something like that. We try to say, no, you can't be at these events, you can't do these types of things. But I guess, like, what say you about us in industry debate and having these real conversations without having to be put in the pasture because you think a little bit differently?
Well, I don't mind people thinking differently. Matter of fact, I'm a,
You're a contrarian sometimes. Yeah, I know.
right, for sure. I mean, some of my content, I mean, is definitely like, you know, saying that you can buy a luxury car as long as it's within your plan, and people are like, oh well, you know, is that. My point is this: I agree wholeheartedly about groupthink, and we need to do better. We've done a lot better since back in the past, and a lot of folks just don't do their history research. You know, do your research. You know, those type of posts. But anyway, but anyway, yeah, but yes, I think we should open up the box far as groupthink is concerned, and have different takes, but it has to be within in a lane. You know, these lanes of fiduciary, like you're saying, like think the best interest first for the client, their well-being. I always like to say I like to advance the human condition through financial advice, right? And so keeping that in mind, there is there are boundaries. We don't necessarily have to be narrow and agreeing all the time.
Yeah.
That said, when you say something stupid, okay, all right. If you enter the conversation and say, if I say, well, we're having a conversation about the Earth,
Yeah.
right, and is it round or is it flat? All right. Now you can say what type of now different opinion is. Oh, I've been to this country. I've been to that country. I've been to this ocean. I've been in this ocean. Atlantic is better than the Pacific.
Yeah.
But if you say stupid stuff like, oh, the world is flat. Okay, no, don't say, oh, we have different opinions. No, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
You know, so it has to be some sort of responsibility and accountability of what we say and how we and what we present.
Dr. Preston Cherry, Concurrent Financial Planning on the 9 Innings podcast, giving us some insight, giving us some data, giving us his thoughts around certain things. And yes, he does believe the earth is round. I'm sorry, the earth is round. Because you know what? The earth is round, and it's already been proven. But again, I don't want to get out there with the flat earthers. The flat earthers that's a group of people that you don't want to get in front of. You and I both know that. So let's talk about social media and the advent of financial coaching, right? You're seeing this all over the field. As a financial advisor like myself, should I trust in financial coaching? Because I know a lot of advisors who are now either older, they're out of the field, they succeeded out of their business. What say you about financial advisors and financial coaching? And do you think it's valuable?
I do think it's valuable. That said, you know, the public, and the professionals themselves have to know that it's education, right? Knowing what these two professionals do and what they are doing for others. And as a consumer, what am I receiving? Why am I going to a financial coach? Why am I going to a financial advisor? Okay. And I think this is where the disconnect is. Now, with financial coaches, they deal with certain very specific aspects of money.
Yeah.
And coaching, kind of like behavior change for good decision making, optimal decision making. It's in financial advice as well.
Yeah.
However, when we're talking about someone who is maybe making bad decisions as far as paying debt, or want to buy their first car or their second car. All right. So very specific: cash flow management, debt, credit. All right. So it's very specific. We're going to talk about these 3 or 4 things. We're going to talk about how we can make better decisions and get your input. And that's what a coach does. Educate and coach to do better. Now, coaching can be, and more often is, an advice as well, financial advisory as well. However, it's financial advice in more complex, integrated areas of financial planning domains,
Mm.
tax, investments, retirement benefits, estate, business ownership, so on and so forth. And it's integrated across life stages.
Mhm.
So whereas financial coaching is very specific in these pinpoint areas, let's talk about these 3 or 4 areas. Let's talk
Mhm.
about them in the now.
Mhm.
All right. The financial advice is over a life's course, more broad, more complex. So all that to be said is, yes, I believe they're valuable when the consumers know, why they are engaging with a particular
Mm.
professional
Yeah.
and what to expect. Secondly, I would say, uh, Dave Chappelle said one time on his show, he said, "Oh yeah, he's a habitual line stepper, right?" And there are habitual line steppers out there that want to. And when I say they, I mean the social media influencers, financial advisors who want to say, want to absolve themselves by saying, "Oh no, I'm not giving advice," right?
Oh my gosh.
Or this that, and call advice coaching in order
Yeah.
to slide. All right. And I'll close with this. It's okay for professionals to be on social media and give financial education. Yes, all day. There's a way to do it. That way folks can take that information and then go apply it themselves, because that is not advice. All right. But then don't be going out here giving advice talking about, oh, here's 2, 3, 4, 5 stock tips and do this and do that, and then be like, oh no, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
No, don't work like that.
Well, so now this is good because we're about to open this conversation up. So where do we draw the line in that? Right? I know we have the DOL, the best interest of fiduciary, the blah blah blah. But my question is, where is the line drawn so the consumer can know the difference? Right?
Mhm.
Like the consumer is being inundated with this guy's he says he's a CDRFJK whatever, but they
Mhm.
don't know what that means. So I'll do this. Do you think our regulatory body is doing enough to designate who does what, or does more need to be done?
I think that some of the things that the FPA and the CFP are doing, Financial Planning Association and the CFP board are doing, in order to champion more regulation, and specifically the FPA is going after a protection of the word financial planner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I like that idea. Some people don't. That said, I hear all the time. He said, well, there's the financial, what is it? The financial, is financial planning a profession?
Yeah.
And being a financial advisor may not be. That's an industry,
Okay.
and that's okay, because everybody knows what financial advisor is. They're familiar with it. I call myself a financial advisor at times, and
Mm.
when whatever hat I'm wearing at the time.
Yeah.
All right, so people are used to that. All right, but financial planning is in fact a profession. It has a definition. Now it's by the CFP board, but it's a great definition. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And it talks about helping people accomplish their life and financial goals through financial advice, addressing relevant elements of your finances, multiple elements across of your finances across life's course.
Okay.
Right. So it has a definition, and financial planning is a profession. And not only that, if you hold a CFP, and I'm not just championing for the CFP, but there's people know what a CPA is.
Yeah.
People know what a lawyer is. They
Yeah.
pass the bar exam, right?
Yeah.
And other professions do not have this issue. We have a lot of infighting with that ourselves, as far as the profession is concerned.
Wow.
Well, it's this, and the other. The CFP not only has that definition of what the financial planning professional is,
Mm-hmm.
they also have the fiduciary standard.
Yeah.
So when FPA is going after saying this is a financial planner, this is what this means. It's also, we have the definition and what it means on the CFP board. Commit to that, folks, because that gives the public clarity of what they are engaging with, the professional they're engaging with, and it adheres the professional to certain ethical and integral standards.
Well, I love where you're going with that, but there's industries out there, the insurance industry, broker dealer space, that don't want that, right? I've been on both sides of the fence in my lifetime, and I've seen them rally against it. The AA, is it the AALU or whatever the group was? They said we don't want the fiduciary standard because it's going to do this, this, and this. And the majority of the reasons that people don't want something, we all know what it comes down to, right? Money. And
Yeah.
they don't want to do it because it's going to cost them more money from a compliance perspective to get people to either be a fiduciary or remove them from that altogether. And
Well, here's what I say about that,
go
Kevin.
ahead.
First of all, compliance already costs money. All right. So that's number one. Number
Yeah.
two, some of these companies don't have no problem paying fines and fees, for misdeeds, and 'cause they work that into the budget.
Oh yeah,
All
true,
right.
true.
So I really don't want to hear about the cost and on all that. Lastly, I'll say this is that, and plus they have the resources in order to handle the compliance as well.
True, true.
So I would say that. I'll close with this, which is, you know, you can make money by doing the right thing, right?
1,000%.
Folks will advocate for your services, and advocate meaning they will openly refer. All right. They're not just satisfied with the service, they're advocates because they're saying, they're having their when Harry met Sally moment. They're like,
Yeah.
I'll have what she's having. And people want that too. They're like, I want his or her advisor.
Yeah.
Right. It's because they put the best interest first. And when you help people thrive, or when you help people navigate challenges in life, whereas their finances is concerned, because it spills over to their life, right? If you're connecting with them, if you understand, if you're delivering comprehensive financial advice, people remember that, they can feel it, and they will advocate for it. And then the bottom line of the business grows.
Mhm.
So I don't understand the confusion.
But I don't understand it either. I just feel like listening to him talk about the costs and stuff. But you're absolutely right, man. These guys have the money to handle that. And you talked about comprehensive relationships, and we'll talk about these last two things real quick: client relationships and technology. So let's start it with technology. How has technology transformed the financial advising industry? In particular, how has it helped you in your practice?
Right. Well, first of all, I think some folks are, over teched
Yeah.
at
Hey, I
times.
know. I'm maybe one of them too. I got a tech stack, two
Right,
pages
right.
long, man. Go ahead.
I think folks are, then I would say folks, maybe perhaps firms, and I'll tell you what good tech is, and I'm not saying what bad tech is, because I'm not the authority of good or bad tech.
Yeah.
I can say as a financial professional, and I considered an expert of
Hey,
connecting
man,
with.
you're an expert. You're my expert, though. I got
But
you.
oh man, thank you. But I would say that, you know there was one forgotten piece of technology. I wouldn't say forgotten, but underutilized now.
Okay.
All right. And folks that are using it well are doing well. And what's
Okay.
that? It's human technology. All right. So
Mhm.
sometimes instead of investing in the next, and I understand sometimes budgets are a constraint. I get that. But, if you have the budget to invest in a lot of tech, but can transfer to that to a human,
Mhm.
someone bring a member on as a part of your firm, then that is part of technology as well, right? And so, because they could do both things. I mean, it's as a human being versus a computer, what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I would also say that, you don't have to be over tech. Use tech that is attractive to clients, because in so many studies, folks will say, "This is what's important to me. This is what I value in a ideal financial advice relationship: comprehensive service, transparency of fees, a
Mhm.
value for service, being connected with and understood, so on and so forth." Right? Technology seems to either be in the middle or towards the bottom. It's important,
Yeah.
all right. But above that is having having a social presence. Use your web page right. This, that, and the other. Right. So, where am I coming with that? I'm saying, you know, being over teched can be a deterrent. Whereas if you're using tech that enhances those areas that people value most,
Yeah.
all right, maybe having a loom, or 2 minutes, one
Mhm.
minute, all right, having automated emails and or all that, having a good onboarding process, all that. Then now we're talking how you connect, communicate, understand your better your client.
I love what you said because over tech, you see, and people talk about this all the time. Berkshire Hathaway's website is just, you go on, it's like it's just a website. You know what I mean? And of course, they can do that. They're that 1% of the 1% they can do that. But then you notice some of these big firms out there, their websites are just average at best, but they're just like, hey, this is who we are, you know. And maybe some of us need to take that into consideration, saying maybe we're thinking way too much on the flash and the lights versus just getting down to the nitty gritty and say this is about relationships. And most people aren't going to care how all that stuff looks, and just because it's flashy and it looks pretty. And I mean, I 100% agree. I think a lot of us are just going way to the tech, trying to make up for our deficiencies. So
Yeah, and to your point, to get to the point, right?
mm,
I'm going through a slight iteration of my website,
mm,
a little bit more thinning,
mm,
and so say what you need to say, because what is one of our most assets? I say there's three of them. Well, I would say two of them are combined into one, but there's really two. Is time, greatest asset. You could do so much with time.
mm.
Then number two is self-worth, self-value, and that goes into just being a person with confidence and believing in yourself, right? So
Yeah.
those type of assets are compoundable and nobody can take them away from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're talking about what we're talking about, what tech we're going to use, all right, uh people want to come to your website and get to the point, feel confident, feel connected with, and say, look, I don't have the time to be perusing all this extra stuff that you're telling me. Tell me that in a meeting, which is what? Human technology. Because when you meet with somebody, then you can tell them all that stuff. But you do have to display transparency, credibility,
Mm,
who you're serving, what the benefit is to them. They have
mm.
to feel it.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about a website, and you have about 5 seconds, and you got one, I call it the three scroll. You may not get it through the three scroll on the mobile.
Yeah.
All right. And if
Yeah.
you don't make it through that then you don't have a good message.
Man, and you got me wanting me to change my whole damn website up right now, man. Golly. Hey, so Dr. Preston Cherry, the last question I want to talk to you about today is the human side. You've been talking about it a lot. Client relationships. So, what are some of the key elements in building trust and maintaining strong relationships with clients in the financial advising process? Like, what are some of the things that you consider and some of the things that you do?
Right. So great question. Kevin,
Mm.
here it's these are keywords.
Yeah.
All right, which are vulnerability, transparency, authenticity, right? Being genuine, having compassion, having compassion, and a little bit and empathy. Empathy requires that you have to, really connect, have to gone through something similar than the other person. But yes, empathy is important as well. Compassion is I'm willing to place myself into your shoes to
Mhm.
understand and then help you do something about it. That's
Yeah.
why I like compassion. All those are important. Have the willingness to understand folks,
Mm.
their identity, their values, their experiences, their cultures, right? And the willingness, the genuine willingness is the important part. Okay. And I will say this: do it in a way to where you're doing it and not having to say it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, uh, I'm bringing my authentic self today. Here's my authentic self, or here's my, I'm being vulnerable with you right now. If
Yeah.
somebody came to you in a conversation and said, Kevin, I'm about to be real vulnerable with you right now.
Yeah.
What the
Oh,
hell?
hey. They always sort of, I'm about to be honest, to be
Yeah,
honest.
right,
You know what
right,
I mean?
right,
Like, come
right.
on, man.
That's
I thought
Charles
you're always
Barkley.
honest with me.
I had a therapist tell me one time, and I believe in therapy all day.
Mm,
He said, because I was going through some trial at one time.
mm,
Well, there's trial in life all the time, but it was an extended period, and I sought
mm,
some help. And he said, Preston, he said, when you say to be honest with you, I think you're going to be lying to me or something to this effect. He said, you saying all the time, that means, there's a signal that you're
mm,
sending and you're saying it all the time. and you may be projecting some guilt or something like that. Now, I like to be honest with you every now and again. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
look at Charles Barkley. To be honest with you, right, and sometimes it just goes into a flow of conversation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what the professional was telling me is that you know, having saying it all the time sends the wrong signal. So he said he told me to take it out of my vocabulary.
Gotcha.
Right. So yeah. But
Uh,
I would just say do these things naturally. Gain some skill if you don't have this particular knack. All right. You don't have to go in there as far as financial advisors or even the clients that come. All right. It's not a whole, you don't have to get all emotional, this, that, and the other. It's not a therapeutic couch, although there is something called financial therapy. Look it up.
mhm.
Uh, what I'm saying is that exploring the humanity of money, it values, experiences, cultures, right? Relationships, past, present, and future is very important.
Very important. And this right here, this conversation is very important because you're seeing two individuals that are in a community that represent a small portion of the community inside of a larger community of CFPs. And it needs to be seen. This needs to be seen more often. This needs to be addressed more often, and not to be politicizing anything, but we know what's happening with the DEI and all the programs and things like that. They're being addressed and pulled back from all of a sudden due to the fact that it's no longer in the public eye back in like in 2021. Now it's not, now it's 2-3 years later. Okay, let's pull it back. And to me, I'm not gonna go into that. That's a whole nother podcast. But
That is a whole nother
but
podcast.
yeah. But
Right.
today we talked to Dr. Preston Cherry, talked about finance. We talked about all the different things in regards to the social side of things. We talked about the personal side of things. We talked about how to get clients more in tune with our businesses. So I'm leaving the last words for my boy. What would you tell people? What would you tell new advisors in the business? There's two questions. What would you tell new advisors in the business? And two, what would you tell the overall clients that may be watching this in regards to what they should be looking out for in regards to the social media space?
Okay. So for new advisors coming to the space, all right, have a willingness to learn your craft.
Mm.
All right. And also too, that's a message out to the firms to have a willingness to help mold and shape. All right. Firms, be the Barry Gordy. All right. All right. Financial advisors, be the little Michael Jackson at 9 years old, they're listening to Smokey Robinson, the Motown crew, Marvin Gaye, all
Yeah.
of that. All right. Before Thriller, before he broke out the moonwalk. All
Yeah.
right. He was watching James Brown, Fred Astaire, this, that, and the other, right?
Yeah.
So have a willingness to learn your craft and then provide an environment to shape the willing people that want to come to this profession and
Yes,
thrive.
sir.
That's number one.
Mm.
All right. Then number two, as far as social media is concerned, I think we addressed it, but let's sum it up, which
Mm-hmm.
is yes, for those that are out there wanting to put out good information for the betterment of folks advancing the human condition through financial advice, be on your platforms consistently and instill more confidence into the public so they're going anyway. They're going to the social media, they're going to the YouTubes, they're going to the podcasts. So you be there too. And you
Mm-hmm.
do not have to uplift wrong information in order to get your right information out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, man. We needed this today because this message is gonna bring a lot of clarity to the industry. Dr. Preston Cherry in the 9 Innings podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, my friend.
Man, appreciate you, Kevin.
Thank you guys for listening to the 9 Innings podcast. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. As I always say, go and get my book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. You have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@9icapitalgroup.com. Send us your questions or you go to the website at www.9icapitalgroup.com. Schedule an appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, and engage. And today we had Dr. Preston Cherry on the call. We had a deep conversation today around financial advisors being financial coaches and how we should model around that. Talked about client relationships. We talked about technology and finance, and we talked about the social media impact in regards to the information you're receiving either as a client and or advisor. And lastly, we also talked about steps we all need to be taking to make sure that we're not being held captive to all of the noise that we're receiving. Talk to your financial advisor. Make sure you are engaged with your financial advisor so you know exactly what you're receiving. I get a lot of messages each week about certain things that are coming out, and I have to basically combat those. So thank you guys for joining us as always. Stay humble, stay safe, my friends. I'll see you again soon.